The Southern Center for Inequality Studies at Wits University, in partnership with international academic partners, including the Paris School of Economics, has co-authored a paper which details a proposed wealth tax to assist with fiscal sustainability as well as to reduce the massive wealth inequality here in South Africa. Well, to discuss this further, I'm joined by Amory Gethin. He's a researcher in economics at the Paris School of Economics, and he joins us via Zoom. Thanks very much for joining us. Now, it's well understood that South Africa is one of the most unequal societies in the world. What is it that you and your academic peers are proposing in terms of a wealth tax for the country?
Hello, thank you for the invitation. So, exactly as you said, wealth inequality in South Africa is very high. South Africa is ranked as the most unequal country in the world in terms of income and in terms of wealth. And just to give one key figure, I think that reveals that the top 1%, the richest 1% of South Africans today own about 55% of wealth. And so it is in this context, I think, that everybody understands that there is a need to reduce this inequality. And our proposal of the wealth tax precisely aims at both doing that, reducing wealth inequality, and collecting additional government revenue in the context of the crisis. And so what we've done is by combining all available data sources, we've been able to come up with an estimate, which is still imperfect and can be improved, but an estimate of how much government revenue could be collected from a progressive wealth tax.
And what is that figure?
So that figure is about 2.8% of GDP of all income created in South Africa in a year. And just to give a comparison, it's approximately equal to 55% of all expenses that the government does on social protection, including social grants, provincial social development, etc. in South Africa. So it's quite substantial, and it could usefully be used to invest in public goods, cope, of course, with the crisis, invested in health, etc. So it could have a broader implications.
Yeah. So, Amory, one of the issues that comes up in the debate on the wealth tax here in South Africa is that the country already levies quite heavy taxes on the rich through things like inheritance tax and capital gains tax and other taxes. But I take it from your research that it's felt that these are insufficient. Yes.
So I think everybody more or less understands that taxing income is not sufficient. One reason is that the very wealthy usually manage to avoid paying the income tax through trusts, through all kinds of avoidance strategies. And it's also, we know that from surveys, people think that it's a bit unfair often that someone with low income but high wealth would pay lower taxes than someone with high income and high wealth. So there is a need to complement income taxes with wealth taxes, and this is the proposal that we make. And we think that it could contribute to improve tax progressivity in South Africa, which is indeed significant, but not that significant. We should remember that, for example, in the 1940s, 50s, in countries that, like France or the US, top income marginal tax rates reached above 70, above 80%. So this is not, in any case, something extraordinary.
Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has made mobility quite difficult, but the reality is that when the rich become concerned that the taxman is going to come after them, they can do things like financial migration, which usually results in them also emigrating altogether. How do we create a climate where those who are more well off actually feel, yes, it's important that we give more as we're privileged? I mean, I do ask this in the context of our country where taxpayer money has been abused and stolen to line the pockets of those who are connected with the political elite as well as the political elite themselves. And of course, people do worry that their hard-earned money or money that their parents gave to them from when they died or whatever will just go into lining somebody's pocket who doesn't deserve that money.
I completely understand the concern with that. That being said, I think that this applies to any kind of tax in South Africa, not only a wealth tax, but it also applies to a value-added tax, to the income tax. So I don't think it should be a reason to simply forget about taxes altogether. I think this is somehow something that should be coped with, and I'm sure there are ways to cope with it. And one way, of course, is increased transparency. And I think transparency is very important. So it should be made clear, for example, that such a tax would be dedicated, for example, to social relief, to reducing poverty, to investing in health, to coping with the crisis. So if the objectives are clearly defined and readily assessed, then I believe that the concern will be less significant.
Amory, we don't have enough time, but we would have liked to speak to you further. Thank you so much for your insights there. Amory Gethin, he is from the Paris School of Economics.